you, Jesus. Your work's not done just because you made it to the palace. Bless the name of the Lord. But you've got a responsibility to help somebody else make it across.
This is Swingfield. The story of people trying to make their way in life and trying to get ahead.
Good morning. Welcome to the Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbot Swan II. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is through cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness, create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. 5 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Be with you up until 10 o'clock hour. Got a power-packed hour. It's going to go real quick. Call a friend and call somebody. Tell them to tune in right now. Give us a call at 413-736-2781. Sheriff Steve Tompkins is going to call momentarily. And we'll take his call. And then I have two guests who will be in the studio. And we'll be talking about some things that have happened in the community. And we'll also be taking your telephone calls. So give us a call, 413-736-2781. .7 WTCC. Good morning, Bishop Talbot Swan with you. I've got on the line Sheriff Steve Tompkins, Suffolk County Sheriff. Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, Bishop Swan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How you feel?
Listen, I'm living the dream. I woke up this morning and put my feet on the floor, and I'm standing upright. It's a good day.
All right. You called in for a special reason this morning. Tell us what's going on.
Really, what I'd like to say to your listeners is the importance of what's going on in this election, this coming year, this presidential campaign. And clearly, I'm advocating for Secretary Clinton for a couple of reasons, and I'll hit these really quickly. One, this country incarcerates far too many of its citizens, and actually a lot of citizens that should be in mental health facility or in a substance abuse bed, not in jail. And an overwhelming number of those folks are folk of color. So we really need to look at that, and I appreciate her stand on looking at how we keep folk out of jail and either in, as I say, substance abuse, mental health, and interestingly enough, education. You know, when she talks about the need to provide more money for people to get quality education, provide money for pre-start so that our youth and our kids can really start off with a quality education, I'd rather see that kind of prison to pipeline, prison to school to prison pipeline done away with. And let's talk more about a cradle to career pipeline. And she's talking about doing those things, and I'm heartened by that. So I think those two things are really important. And then when you look at the ACA and affordable health care and transportation, which is really important, an overwhelming number of people of color really they rely on public transportation to get to school, to get to work. And I believe that Secretary Clinton is really talking about and will really work diligently on all four of those things.
So let me ask you one question. There's been a lot of talk about what's going on with Bernie Sanders in Massachusetts, and a few days ago it looked like she was about 7 points down. Now it looks like she's back up. What do you think the prospects are in terms of Super Tuesday on tomorrow right here in the Commonwealth?
I feel really good about that. Here's the deal, you know, and nothing against Senator Sanders, but when he talks about he's going to provide free college and free this and free that, it's nice, but it's very idealistic. The Secretary is talking about very realistic, what we can do as a people in a very realistic way. And so that message is beginning to resonate with folk, and they're hearing her, and they understand that at the end of the day, nothing from nothing leaves nothing, and that she's talking about providing quality that's going to be able to assist us in all of the things that I mentioned a moment ago. So I do believe that, and I've got my fingers crossed here, that she will take Massachusetts tomorrow.
Sheriff, want to thank you for calling in today, and thank you for all you do up there in Eastern Mass and really all over the Commonwealth, and for your activity on this campaign and for getting the word out and letting people know the importance of going out and voting. It's Black History Month, and people bled, they died so that we would have the right to go and vote. So I want to thank you for what you're doing.
We did the AOD the other day, you and I, and we were both there. And the next day on Facebook, Victoria Rowe tagged me, and she was talking about how great the community was. Right. But she used keywords that stuck with me, and she called you and I Springfield's Black media.
I saw that. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. But to me, that's powerful because we need a Black media. We need a Black media everywhere. And with Crystal Jenelle Productions, the sole purpose of this is to be for the Black community. But to hear somebody else say it, how she said it, it really hit home. Yeah. And you and I, there's others out there, but you and I, we could build on that platform.
You guys were pretty sharp at the integrity.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well.
I was impressed by that, and I think that's what prompted her, right, to say the Black media. Because you guys are very professional.
Thank you.
That was the only time I didn't wear my solo production shirt. I was heated.
You gotta wear it.
I know, right?
Marketing.
I know, right? But we should run with the Black media.
I think they need us.
Right.
They need us.
And we should collab on a lot of other projects, and get that out there, because after we just did this, with what they were talking about in there, supporting Black candidates and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. And our word needs to get out. And, with social media and a lot of racism that goes on with social media.
I love what you're doing, Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you. You gotta stay true, and you gotta tell the truth. And I'm not one to hold my tongue. And I've been banned from Facebook for being pro-Black.
Me too, 3 times.
So and there's a Black social media that's coming out soon.
But I redefine what they consider delivery. I lead the time. You watch and wonder. This lightning, I'm chocolate thunder. Breaking backboards, I'm back for the black poor under the poverty level. They tired and worn, living in fear. They own home. See how they pride is torn. Bullet holes in the windows and sides is shown like a museum exhibit. You seeing just how they live in bare bones, surviving off the scraps alone. If there was more for them to take, make no mistake, it'd be gone. But the only thing is no thing for no one. I'm looking at it like, come on now, I'm so done putting these words together, and it just don't measure up. Fill it up, still thirsty for another cup. Fill it up, get closer to the essence of life. Expand your mind from the lessons I write. Get closer. Lifted, like I was at the bar saying cheers. I lifted for those behind bars paying years. Lift it up for the old and graying hairs on the beard of a man with no fear that his end is near. Envision this transition is nothing compared to the tribulations of living in good health. Be risen and take the time to listen to the essence, get closer to it. Do it like you were supposed to do it, and stop following the poster platform. You're stuck in the sand with the rest of the ant farm. Break the glass, let the bell ring, fire alarm, rain down, sprinklers on, no eye of the storm. Just like when I performed, they all went from the energy that's radiating out in front of me. I doubt there's gonna be another one who gives you a dose of what I give you, gon' get you closer. In a child's eyes, like when a child cries and ain't nobody there to help the little child rise. See the tracks on his face from where the tears dry. Whenever I see it, a small part of me dies and a new part of me grows. I hardly suppose that anybody ever will know. It probably don't show through the windows. I close my eyes up. Pops told me, son, you're gonna need to wise up. Tend to the garden or the weeds will rise up. Listen for the truth, people feed them lies up. It's your fault if you swallow they falseness. Direct yourself and don't follow they lostness. You the boss, this is your life to live. Be prepared, you can share this with your wife and kids forever and always, all days and endless. No reason to disbelieve or try to pretend. Let's get closer.
Bishop Swan, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to yourself and your listeners. And let me just say to you, we appreciate all that you do to make sure that all of us are living a quality existence. Thank you so very much, sir.
All right, thank you. 413-736-2781. Let me move to my special guest, and I'm going to try to figure out how I multitask all this because I'm periscoping and I got to figure that out. And so those of you on Periscope, you should be tapping the screen, sending some hearts up in the air. I've got with me this morning Ms. Denise Jordan, Chief of Staff for Mayor Dominic Sarno here in the city of Springfield, and also Mr. Darryle Moss, who is also with the mayor's office. And let me provide some context for their appearance here on this morning. Not too long ago, there was a young lady named Victoria Rowe who was nominated by Mayor Dominic Sarno to sit on the Historical Commission. There was some opposition brought up publicly regarding her qualifications, and that sparked a firestorm of persons who came out to support this young lady, educated young lady, master's degree, who was sitting on a volunteer board. And the question was this politically motivated in terms of the opposition that had gathered against her by certain city councilors? I myself spoke out in terms of supporting her nomination and against any political chicanery in terms of trying to block that. Long story short, the other night they had the confirmation hearings at the city council, and a great crowd showed up to support her, and each counselor, as they were preparing to vote their conscience, kind of spoke out about the issue. One counselor, Justin Hurst, came and spoke out, and he talked about his concerns with black leadership. He named a number of individuals, in particular Denise Jordan and Darryle Moss, and I'll let them talk a little bit about it. There is an article in this month's Point of View that I believe was the framework for his comments at the city council meeting. This same article was printed in the Republican newspaper. It talked about the Urban League, the NAACP, clergy, other black leaders in the community and what they are or are not doing. I've got my own feelings about that, but we'll go ahead and we'll introduce our guests, and we'll get rolling on this. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Darryle.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you? I'm good. You're a veteran here, Darryle, and it's probably been a while since Denise has been in the studio. But let me ask you first, in terms of the process of nominations, a lot of folk don't understand what happened in terms of why these individuals were nominated, what was the mayor doing, and what is the process of confirming their nominations and why there was opposition against them. So either one of you all can take that question and roll with it.
So for the most part, I handle most of the appointments to the boards and commissions. And as it has been stated, board and commission appointments are at the will of the mayor. There are only a certain number of boards and commissions that have to be confirmed by the city council, and the historical commission was one of them. So Victoria, people were saying, well, you know, we think it's ironic that she's being appointed after an election, but if you look at the mayor's history, there were other city councilor candidates who were not successful that he appointed, that go back to, I think it's almost 2008, 2009. Councilor Orlando Ramos ran for city council. He was not successful. He was put on the license commission. Okay, Sal Acosta ran for city council, Ward 3. He was not successful. He was put on the police board. Victoria Rowe ran for city council. She was not successful. The mayor nominated her to be on the historical commission. So one of the things that we couldn't figure out is what is the difference between Victoria's nomination as opposed to others. People are talking about the political ramifications. You know, they're talking about Ms. Guest, who the mayor has spoken to. So folks are using her to make a point when she said she was fine with it. She didn't care. She served for 12 years. The majority of her service was under Mayor Sarno's tenure, and Mayor Sarno wasn't the one who appointed her. So she served for 12 years. So appointments on boards and commissions,
which is longer than most people
absolutely
serve.
They are not lifetime commitments, and we have you know, removed and appointed tens of 20s, you know, of people that they've never had any opposition to or complained about.
So we need to support that. But, you know, I find black people, we're always trying to explain ourselves, or we're always trying to defend ourselves and why we do what we do, why it's important to have black media, and why our stories need to come to the forefront versus the other way around, and having, you know, another, I don't want to call it is white media, but, you know, another form of media speaking for us and telling us how we should think, how we should speak, how we should feel. No. And then I was inspired by, you know, the radio show. You know, we need it. So I'm honored to go around the community, capture what we do. And the same night as the AOD was Tika Jones had did the Kwanzaa festival.
What was the Kwanzaa? I heard people talking about it.
It was at Dunbar. It was LaToya Wrights, Tika Jones, I think Chico Dusty hosted it. I mean, there was a whole slew of people within, you know, that group that hold those events, the IME event, the same type of group of people that did that. They did a Kwanzaa event, and I wish that my production company was bigger, because I would have had somebody at AOD and somebody at Kwanzaa. That Kwanzaa celebration should have been captured as well, you know, and bring black Springfield to a whole nother level. And then with that media attention, I think that could help build the community on a more positive level. And just being a videographer, I'm learning a whole nother side of Springfield. I'm from the hood. You know, born and raised right around the corner. So I know the hood, and I'm familiar with, you know, that atmosphere, and I love where I'm from. But we also have to teach young children and young adults, such as myself, that there's another aspect of a black community in Springfield as well.
This is a story of love.
Scrambling for stuff to support what they were trying to do to Miss Rowe.
Well, the question I have is, here's my concern. It came out after opposition was expressed toward her appointment, and the first salvo was a question about her qualifications. That's what came out in the paper, a question about her qualifications, and so that was the crux of why those of us who galvanized in support came out, because that didn't make sense to us. Later on, it came that there was a concern about taking off Marjorie Guest and the other two that were on this. So this was an afterthought, in my estimation, about why the opposition to Victoria Rowe. And so my question is, why was not it expressed opposition to the mayor removing all three individuals as a matter of process, as opposed to it coming out that we're against Victoria Rowe?
Right. Don't accept the whole slate to just pick one person out. If you don't agree with the process, then you shouldn't select any of the folks. You can't just pick one, and the one that they selected The only qualifications needed was residency, and like I said, she needs to know how to read, and that's about it. And she had all of that in her.
And you're sure she can do both of those?
I'm sure she can read. I'm almost sure she can read. She has a master's degree. She's a math fellow. She can count too.
All right. So D. Moss, you were criticized because you used social media to galvanize support, to raise awareness on the issue, and there were some who felt that as an aide to the mayor, I guess you shouldn't be on Facebook or whatever. Or I shouldn't be ringing alarms or talking with people and communicating with people. I think I've done what I've always done. Everybody knows when it comes to Facebook, I got about 5,000 friends. I have about 500 followers. You yourself know how Facebook is. We got to get word out. When I first got the call that night when they had the subcommittee meeting, when they were supposed to originally vote on Victoria Rowe, I left early. By the time the meeting was over, my phone was ringing. I'm getting calls from counselors who were told not to, they're going to support everyone, but they are not to support Victoria Rowe. They had 8 votes. They were going to keep Victoria Rowe off that commission. And I didn't understand. I'm like, well, why? They said, well, we asked a certain counselor why. And he said, I know what's wrong what I'm doing to my colored people, but I'm going to teach this little black girl a lesson. That was number one. What voice was that you knew we was at? I'm just asking. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go on and talk now, Darryle.
It is Black History Month, so it's only appropriate.
Oh, sorry. My mama background come up when I start talking sometimes. I'm a little old, man. But no, that's what I was told, and that's when I started to ring alarms. I think the first thing I did, I sent text messages out to the people I know will get word out, because I was appalled. I'm like, the mere fact that she ran against the current Ward 4 city councilor and lost, I think that should have been enough. It's like you won, but now to persecute a young black woman just because she ran, I just think that's wrong. Whether I knew her or not, it could have been Joe Johnson from around the corner. And I think my response, my response still would have been the same. I think we have a charge to make sure that we protect these young people who decide they want to step out on faith and get involved, because all 3 of us know to get involved means you're shining a big spotlight on yourself. And you're going to be subject to things that normal people would never comprehend. So it's like, I think we have responsibility. Now, Councilor Twiggs disavows that that the opposition was political, and I believe he was quoted in the paper as saying it was based on a lack of experience. Do you give any credence to that? Say it one more time. Do you give any credence to that? He said it was on a lack of experience. Right, that's what he said. That was how he justified it. If he had done his homework to find out that the requirement for the seat was simply residential, was just residency, that would have never came up. They had no other justification to substantiate not supporting this young woman's appointment. Now, Denise, my understanding is the president of the city council.
They wanna read my mind, but I redefine what they consider delivery. I lead the time. You watch and wonder. This lightning, I'm chocolate thunder. Breaking backboards, I'm back for the black poor under the poverty level. They tired and worn, living in fear. They own home. See how they pride is torn. Bullet holes in the windows and sides is shown like a museum exhibit. You seeing just how they live it, bare bones, surviving off the scraps alone. If there was more for them to take, make no mistake, it'd be gone. But the only thing is no thing for no one. I'm looking at it like, come on now, I'm so done putting these words together, and it just don't measure up. Fill it up, still thirsty for another cup. Fill it up, get closer to the essence of life. Expand your mind from the lessons I write. Get closer.